Hello and welcome to Symbols and Cynicism, a podcast where we talk about all of the things that I love, some of the things that I hate, and this wacky adventure that we call life. My name is Bob, I'm your host, and I'm glad you're here today for Sid's Bracket Spectacular, and the Rant Bracket Winning Rant, whatever that is. Let's get started. Welcome back to today's program. Happy St. Patrick's Day for those who celebrate. Sid is mostly Italian, so we'll wait another month to celebrate Liberation Day because Sid hates Nazis. And now we've surpassed our political quota for the day. It's episode 10 on this season, season 3, and that usually means top 10s in different categories and so forth with special guests, but if you've been listening for the past 10 or so episodes, you know that instead of top 10s today, we are doing brackets. We've previewed our brackets, and today we're going to jump right into the Bracket Spectacular with our reveals. We've got baseball movie bracket reveals with Greg, DCI brackets with Harrison, of course, our Bourbon bracket in Something Neat with Matt, and finally our Rant bracket along with a redo of the winning rant with Cathy. Let's get started. Baseball and our friend Greg coming up next. All right, for the results of our baseball movie bracket, we are welcoming back my friend and yours, Greg the Thriller Miller. Greg, how have you been doing?
Oh, I've been great. And baseball season's closer and closer, and spring training is underway, and I am all about it.
I need you to predict a record for the Cleveland Guardians this year. How many wins you got?
Oh, gosh, I've got to decide whether I'm going to be practical or whether I'm going to say this with my heart. I've got to say I'm not all that excited based on their lack of making many moves, at least at the time we're recording, but I don't hold much hope that the roster's going to change too much. They had a real magical run last year at the end of the season, and it's hard to see that happening again because they just don't, you mentioned the 95 team on the last podcast, and this is like the opposite of that in terms of the lineup. So yeah, there are a lot of guys that are fun to root for, and they're young, but I don't see them hitting, and I just feel like maybe they had their shot last year and they haven't quite added enough. So I'm going to say optimistically 84 wins, maybe a little above 500, probably not good enough to win the division.
84, I'll take the under on that. How about that?
You could at least think about it for a second.
Well, have you? Yeah, no, I'm going 72 wins. I think they're just good. I don't think Jose Ramirez can carry them for another year. I don't think the pitching is going to be very good. You're right. A lot of young kids that are going to be probably fun to watch, but ultimately they can't play with the big dogs. So,
no.
Hey, have you watched any good baseball movies lately?
Well, I always am up for a good baseball movie. As a matter of fact, my wife and I usually, when we get close to the beginning of the season, if we haven't already watched one or two, like actually sat down to watch it, not just flipped past it and stayed, she'll say, hey, we haven't watched one. Which one do you want to watch? I will say I watched one recently because one of these 8, and we'll get to it when we talk about it, I had never seen before we did this bracket. So I did watch one for the first time pretty recently.
Yeah, me too. I had not seen it either, and I could probably go without seeing it again for at least a long while. All right, let's start with our 1 versus 8 matchup. This is Field of Dreams versus The Rookie. We've got family nostalgia and fantasy and Field of Dreams versus like Disney feel-good in The Rookie. What do you got and why?
Well, I'll start by saying I really do enjoy The Rookie, and I think it is a great representation of an incredible thing that actually happened. I think Dennis Quaid is really good in that movie, even though when you see a picture of the guy he's portraying, he really doesn't look much like him at all. But it's a fun movie to watch in terms of watching the town rally around him and seeing his interaction with students. I'm sure you had this as a teacher too, where suddenly the teacher is out there doing the thing that the students are doing. I remember at some point I was playing a performance somewhere and some of my students were there, and like their minds were blown that I actually did the same thing they did. And I can see that in this movie when his high school players watch him go through this trial process and eventually go to the game. So that's a cool part of it, and it's a neat story. But Field of Dreams is just kind of hard to top for me, and a lot of that has to do with just the spiritual nature of it, the connection with family. There are moments in that movie that I just think are hard to beat, whether it's the Moonlight Graham character and that thought of what might have been and how do we deal with never reaching our dreams, and is there this sense of destiny in our life or not. And obviously talking about the Black Sox scandal, which was a really big part of baseball history and is part of this with Shoeless Joe there. But as we mentioned before, the music, and then you've got James Earl Jones' speech, which is so quotable, and just the movie just stops there and he does his thing, and it's really, really well written and obviously very well delivered. But for me, it boils down to just this whole thing where all of a sudden after 2 hours you realize that it was all about him and his dad, and he delivers that line and asks his dad if he wants to have a catch, and it's just hard for anybody not to get a little misty when that happens. Baseball is a big part of my relationship with my dad. I remember being a kid and going to an Indians game at the old stadium, and he caught a foul ball, and it was like, oh my gosh, my dad is the most amazing person who's ever lived. And so this idea that Ray's had this falling out with his dad, and part of it was over baseball, and then he goes through all of this to reconcile with his dad, it's hard to beat that.
Can confirm Chuck Miller is a wonderful, wonderful human being. I agree. Field of Dreams is the slam dunk here. The Rookie is a fantastic movie. We just kind of saw the football version of this past season with Phillip Rivers, right? It wasn't his break-in, but what was he, 42 and out there playing for the Colts or something like that. So great movie. I agree with you, but Field of Dreams all day over The Rookie, hands down, no sweat. 2 versus 7,
Absolutely.
The Natural versus The Sandlot. Mythical hero in The Natural versus coming of age in The Sandlot. Who you picking?
Well, yeah, it's hard for me to argue with The Natural here. It's one of my favorite baseball movies. It's right there at the top of my list with one or two others. A lot of it's Robert Redford. I love his swing in the movie. He looks like a baseball player in that old uniform. There's a ton of really cool symbolism in this movie, some of which I didn't really pick up on until more recently when I was reading and listening to some analysis about it. You've got Roy, who the name Roy means king, and he plays for the Knights. And there's the lightning bolt and Wonder Boy, which is almost like King Arthur's sword, and just all of this symbolism, and let alone all of the light and dark, and that evil owner who sits up in his box and doesn't want any light on at any time. And so all of that I find really cool about this movie, and it's kind of fun to peel back those layers a little bit. Then you get the coming back together with Glenn Close at the end of it, and him finding out that he has a son. Sorry, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched that movie already.
It's like 40 years old. I think we're okay.
Yeah, I think we're okay too. But really, like, for me, what does it with The Natural is just the final 10 minutes or so, him overcoming this thing from his past that he hasn't been able to totally escape. He has that line at one point, I guess there's some mistakes we never stop paying for. And he's playing this final game, and there's blood on his jersey, and he hits that home run, and the music swells. The music is so good in that moment, and the lights shatter, and there's the judge looking out the window, and the lights raining down, and he's seeing it from his darkness, and Roy's rounding the bases, and everybody's going crazy. And it's just, that moment is pretty much, I think, the best moment in any baseball movie. So then The Sandlot is the one that you and I both had not seen before, and there's fun things about that movie. I think part of my hesitation with that is, as I started thinking about it, movies that are pretty much centered around kids only have never been my favorite movies. It reminded me a little of The Goonies. I never have liked that adult voiceover thing of the kids' inner thoughts, like the movie The Christmas Story. So I think part of it's a style thing for me, but it also just feels like this is a story that could have been told in any number of ways. It's not particularly baseball specific, but I do like that idea of The Sandlot, and obviously James Earl Jones and his cameo at the end. It's kind of fun that they hide him until the end, and that's a cool entrance when he finally becomes part of the story.
Yeah, but The Natural is cinema. It's literature. It is epic. Sandlot is fun. You're killing me, Smalls, etc. I don't care for that movie. I had not seen it before. I don't care for it now, and I can hand me all the hate you want. If you like it, that's great. But for me and you, 100% Natural over The Sandlot. Our 3 versus 6 Moneyball versus Major League. We've got Stats and Budgets versus Yogi Berra style slapstick quotable comedy. This, for me, is a really tough choice.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very tough choice for me, too. These are great movies. I've seen both of them fairly recently, and it didn't make the decision any easier between them. As far as Moneyball goes, I really like just the analysis in that movie and the talking that goes in. That scene with Jonah Hill and Billy Beane being played by Brad Pitt when they're on the phone juggling phone calls, making the trade to bring our old Indian friend Ricardo Rincon to the A's.
Yeah,
that is great stuff. And I love the evolution. You mentioned in the last episode the relationship between those two guys. It goes from Brad Pitt meeting Jonah Hill, and Jonah Hill is real reserved and barely wants to talk to him. And then they pull off that trade, and he makes the fist and makes the face. And It's just really cool to see their relationship between the whole movie. One of the things that I'm torn about on that movie, it's not particularly, I mean, it's authentic in some ways, but it's not the full story of the A's. It's the interesting part of the A's. But some of their best players you never really hear about. And one of the main reasons they won was they had this amazing pitching staff, which really doesn't get talked about. And a lot of the images in that movie feel stylized. You know, there's some weird lighting and things in the game. So other than the cool thing about it being that they cut in with real life baseball too, but some of the recreations feel more staged to me than anything else. And then the other thing about that movie that I always have a hard time with is it just reminds me, as baseball is steaming toward this labor issue in another year, about some of the imbalances with the game. And Billy Beane starting the movie saying, well, obviously I can't keep my own players. They're going to go somewhere else because I'm in Oakland. And that's a real issue for baseball. And I'd rather escape it for a little bit when I watch a movie. So I don't always like being reminded about that.
Yeah, it's little guy versus big guy, but the big guy's always going to win, right? The Dodgers, they have the most amount of money and they're going to spend it. And while the A's have that great run, and then he almost takes the job with the Red Sox, he doesn't. Then, of course, the Red Sox do go on to win using some of his techniques a little later. One of my favorite scenes in that movie is when Billy Beane doesn't want the manager to play the certain player, but he keeps playing him anyway, and he walks into the manager's office and says, you can't play him tonight. He says, well, I get to make the decisions. I'm playing him. Billy Beane says, well, you can't play him. Well, I'm going to. You can't play him because I just traded him. He's not on our team anymore. I just think that's a great, great exchange. But we are picking the upset here, Major League over Moneyball.
Yes, we absolutely are. And it was a tough call, like you said, but ultimately it's hard to go against your own hometown team in that movie.
And just, we mentioned it last time around, just the quotability of everything in that movie is just, you see, like when they do that stomp your foot, cross your legs thing you see that in Major League dugouts now. I mean, that has transcended being a comedy into being fabric of baseball.
Yes, and some of the baseball action in that movie is so good. I love, at the end of that movie, one of my other favorite baseball scenes is that entrance of Ricky Vaughn coming in, and they're playing the song, and the stadium is going crazy, and the opposing players are like looking up at the dugout thinking the whole place is going to collapse on him. And Ricky Vaughn comes in, and he has to take these deep breaths, and then the way they do the sound in that, every time he uncorks a fastball, it sounds fast. Yeah. And so that showdown right there is such a fun part of that movie. And then there's a stretch right before that when they start to make their run, and they're showing all these highlights, and they're showing the front cover of the Cleveland Plain Dealer sports section and pictures from the games. And they're having all these different crazy plays with catches at the wall and double steals of home. And that's a fun stretch in that movie. And then you add Bob Uecker calling all of it, and just seeing Chief Wahoo over the Yankees it's really hard to get past that for me.
Yeah, it's just a bit outside, and it's hats for bats, keep bats warm. It's at the end when he's calling his shot faking out the pitcher, and then he bunts and legs out the bunt to first base and kind of comes up lame with the hamstring. Yeah, so Major League over Moneyball. Our last first-round matchup here is League of Their Own versus Bull Durham. Historical significance of League of Their Own versus the importance of the minor leagues in the fabric of baseball in Bull Durham. Who you picking?
Well, I really like both movies, maybe for different reasons. I think Tom Hanks is great in A League of Their Own. It's one of his funnier performances, I think, in any of the movies he's done. He is so kind of sarcastic and crusty in the way that he's doing things with that team. He's got this real sense of, I played real baseball and I don't know what I'm doing here and I'm not going to give you the time of day. And then obviously as the movie evolves, he starts to care more and build relationship with the players. The things that those women are going through as they're playing, I really think that what happens with Gina Davis's character at the whole time, she's got a husband who's away. And then when he returns, and how taken aback she is to see him again. And then she has to decide if she's even going to keep on playing baseball or whether she just wants to spend her time with him. And that gut-wrenching scene that they have partway through the movie where somebody comes from the War Department with a telegram and then he's forgotten the name of the person and all of those players are waiting, figuring out which one of us is he going to walk up to and is he going to hand us a slip of paper that says our husband or boyfriend isn't coming back. Like, the gravity of that in the movie is always just really hits me as I watch that movie. I think the baseball in it's pretty good. Madonna may not be the best baseball player in the world, but Rosie O'Donnell and Gina Davis are okay. I have a hard time with the Kit character. I find her kind of annoying and some of the pouting and stuff in the dugout. I don't enjoy that part of the movie so much, but just such a cool story, such a different side of baseball than we're used to seeing. Watching them go through that and obviously the history behind it. But ultimately, I do feel a slight pull toward Bull Durham. I think Kevin Costner in that movie is amazing. The dynamic between him and Tim Robbins, like two totally different guys. And just the way that he has that, this is what it looks like at the end of your career. And even at the end of the movie, he's trying to decide, is there anywhere else I can play? Will anyone even know that I broke this record? Am I going to go manage somewhere? And then you contrast it with this Rube who's playing and doesn't seem to know anything about what he's doing. And they have all of these lessons that he teaches them. And some of them are like not the most important life lesson, but it's just like, here's the catchphrase you need to know for the interviews. And hey, when you get in a fight with somebody, don't hit them with your pitching hand. Yeah. And all that stuff is a lot of fun. And then you've got all the silly minor league baseball. They hit the bull and they win a free steak. And the radio broadcast and the guy making the sound effects and some of the shtick between the manager and his bench coach. It's a lot of fun, and it just gives you such a lived-in quality of what it must be like to play baseball at that level.
I think one of the greatest scenes for that lived-in quality is when they're on the bus and they're all kind of picking on Kevin Costner because he's the old guy and what does he know? And he finally leads on that, yeah, I played in the show for 3 weeks or whatever it was. And all of a sudden, all these young kids are like, oh, now we'll pay attention because you really did live this and you really maybe do know what you're talking about. That gives a level of realness to me, that dynamic of old versus young, been there, done it versus I want to be doing it someday. And so we're picking the minor upset here. 5/4, Bull Durham advances.
Absolutely.
All right, semifinal matchups. We've got the 1 seed Field of Dreams versus the 5 seed Bull Durham. Look, this is an impossible decision, I think. Both of these movies are absolutely fantastic, but we got to pick one. Mr. Miller, who we picking?
Well, Kevin Costner versus Kevin Costner.
Right.
But I am going to go with Field of Dreams. It's probably the baseball movie I've seen the most. And I just can't get past the emotional resonance that I have with that movie and how well executed the ending of it is in particular. It's just the final shot of the cars showing up and the way they put the field or the baseball field in the corn. Someday I hope to go see that because it just looks like such a cool thing. But just everything, the interaction with his dad and the whole 9 yards, it is so well done and it gets me every time. Doesn't matter how many times I've seen it.
Yeah, it's basically a perfect movie. Let's go to the 6 versus the 2, Major League versus the Natural. Not sure you could get a match up with two more different movies. That's about as different as you get. But which way are we going here? Our hometown Cleveland Indians or the natural, mythical Roy Hobbs story?
Yeah, so when you boil it down to these two movies, it is kind of like, which thing are you more in the mood for? Are you more in the mood to sit back and relax and be entertained and cheer on your favorite team and watch all these jokes and things? Or are you in the mood, I think your word was cinema, and just to be transported to all of these big ideas and things? And so, there are little things about both movies I don't like. The whole side plot in Major League with the Rene Russo character and Tom Berenger kind of stalking her a little bit is not my favorite part of that. And some of the side stuff with Robert Redford and Kim Basinger feels a little that way in The Natural too. But just the journey that Roy Hobbs goes on, and just the absolute, like you said, the sense of literature. It feels like you're watching a classic book play out before you. And the music swelling at the end, and him grabbing the new bat after Bobby gives him his when his bat has been broken. It's just, it's no perfect the way that movie finishes.
Yeah, I mean, having this conversation in my own head the last week or so, as I was kind of trying to come to these decisions, it kind of puts you in the shoes of, the Emmys and the Oscars, where you go, why does a comedy never win Best Picture? Well, we're not picking it either, because it's a great movie and it's a lot of fun, but is it really great? Is there really greatness there? And we got to go the natural over Major League. So in this case, so far, the seeds held for our finals matchup. We have on the top of our bracket, number 1, Field of Dreams versus number 2, The Natural. The choices don't get easier here, Mr. Miller, but we don't pay you the big bucks to make the easy decisions. What are you doing, Field of Dreams or The Natural?
For me, I think this was the hardest decision in the whole bracket. And I think over time, my feeling between those two movies, which have always been 1 and 1A in some order for me on the baseball movies, it's gone back and forth. There are definitely times when I have felt like The Natural is my favorite movie, because of all the things we've already said. I think the thing that sways it for me and makes me say Field of Dreams is it is such a personal connection for me, and it brings out real lived-in emotions about how I feel about baseball, what it means to my family and the relationship I have with my whole family, but especially with my dad, and watching that play out. The speech that James Earl Jones gives is true. It maybe is not as true now as it once was about it being the national pastime and marking the time. And it may not mean that same thing to today's generation that it meant at the time he gave it, and certainly in the decades before it. But it rings true to me. And when he starts talking about it in that way, and the music swelling and all the players stop and listen to him, it doesn't get much better than that. So I've got to give the slightest edge to Field of Dreams over The Natural.
Okay, folks, you heard it here first. The 2026 Symbols and Cynicism Baseball Playoff Bracket champion is the number 1 seed, Field of Dreams. I concur. It's basically a perfect movie. There is a literal Field of Dreams today, and they play a baseball game there every summer. Major League, so that is really cool. So, you talk about historical significance. Not only has that movie stood the test of time, but it is a literal physical part of the fabric of Major League Baseball today. And I think that's really cool. I think that is another thing that sets it apart from any of the rest of these movies, which are all great movies, and some of them are true stories and some of them are not. But the Field of Dreams is still alive. You go back to the James Earl Jones speech, where it marks it's the thing that always will be around, right? And it is. Field of Dreams is still there. You can go to Iowa and you can see it. I've never seen it, but yeah, I'm with you. I want to go. I'd love to go see it someday. You and me, when the Guardians play, you and I, we're driving to Iowa. Road trip in a VW van, if we can find one, and we're going to go sit in the outfield in the cornfield and watch the Guardians probably lose to the Yankees or something like that.
Yeah, and as a bonus, maybe I'll stay awake for the entire drive this time.
Yeah, probably not. Hey man, this was a lot of fun. This is a great bracket. Very tough to decide, but our decisions are final. If you have a different love, good for you. Of course, this was just all for fun and games. Awesome to talk about baseball movies. Good luck to your favorite major league team, regardless of who that is. For us, it's the Guardians, and for you, it's probably somebody that's going to beat the Guardians this year. Mr. Miller, any final thoughts?
Oh, no, this was just a lot of fun. I really appreciate the invitation. And it's just great that there's so many great baseball movies. Everybody's going to have their personal favorites. This is where we ended up, but I'm sure everybody listening has a movie in here that speaks to them. And I hope they keep watching it and enjoying it. And everybody is geared up for the start of the season.
And this is your personal invitation to return in 1 year, where the bracket will be Kevin Costner sports movies.
Ooh, that's a good one, too. I'm ready. Put me down.
We can do Field of Dreams. We can do Bull Durham. We can do Tin Cup, which I love Tin Cup. He's in For the Love of the Game, right? Is he in For the Love of the Game?
He is. He absolutely is.
And there's probably some others out there we're missing. So we've already got 4. We'll take a look at some others, and that'll be our next March bracket. Thanks for joining us. Good to have a great spring, and say hello to the family for us.
All right. Thanks, Bob. Great to be with you.
It's bracket day.
It sure is.
How you doing today?
Well, ask me again at the end.
All right, so let's do some drum corps bracket. We revealed this bracket weeks and weeks ago, and we've been taking our time going through this. So we're going to go through every pairing and boil it all down and get our champion of the year for the DCI playoff bracket. Let's start at the top. We got Santa Clara Vanguard 2018 Babylon against Crusaders 2025 Boom.
Yes.
This is a pretty easy choice.
So Boston Crusaders 2025, we talked about it all last summer because we talked about all the shows from last summer, as one does. But Babylon is my favorite show of all time. It also won more captions. It also has had a bigger impact on DCI as a whole. Pretty much, because it's so recent, the only impact Boom has had is that it's Boston's first championship. Right. So everything else goes towards Babylon, not really as close as it may look on the bracket.
Yeah, Babylon moves on. I love Boom. That was my favorite show of the summer, but Babylon. Let's go down to the bottom of the bracket. Number 7 seed 007 against From the New World. Blowout here. 007 by 1.5 miles.
Yeah, neither of these are really my bread and butter of drum corps, both pretty old school, but 007 definitely has a little more pop music, a little more the eye-grabbing, attention-grabbing stuff that From the New World just simply doesn't have.
Yeah, I mean, Phantom didn't even win. There's nothing particularly iconic about that show. It's Phantom. I mean, it's good Phantom,
It
and
is.
That's fine. But Cathy's in a Cathy-dominant era doing a show as hip as 007. Let's move up one to Changes Everything against Stonehenge.
Not close.
Another blowout here.
Yeah, not close. March Madness is known for close matchups. This is not it. Changes Everything has so many iconic moments, and all of them are innovative and creative. Won a ton of captions, undefeated season, and it's the Bluecoats, so especially if the show is entitled Change is Everything, they're gonna do something monumental, so it moves on pretty smoothly.
Yeah, Changes Everything is perfect. Stonehenge is perfectly forgettable in my opinion.
It's okay. I had never seen it until this bracket.
I mean, it's not even in my top 12 cadets shows, probably of all time.
Probably not.
It's only on the list. I mean, it is one of the highest scoring shows. So
it is well executed, but not very entertaining.
The first one of these matchups that we really had serious debate and discussion on.
This was rough.
Was the 5 and the 12. Phantom of the Opera from 1989 by Santa Clara Vanguard and E = MC Squared 2013. Two very different shows, as we chronicled. And we debated back and forth. And I really kind of wanted to do Phantom of the Opera, kind of just to have an old school show advance to the second round. But perfect brass score for Crown.
Yes.
A show that did push the envelope of drum corps
a lot
in 2013 and was Crown's first championship.
Yeah, this show is legendary.
So our first upset of the bracket is the 12 over the 5. The 12 seed moves on to the quarterfinals.
Just a great show. E equals MC squared. You want to cry for fun? Go watch E equals MC squared.
Absolutely.
Gets you going at the end.
All right, let's go to our quarterfinal bracket. At the top of the bracket, we have the 8 seed Babylon against the number 1 seed 2014 Fellini-esque from the Blue Devils, the highest scoring show in the history
99-4-2
of drum corps. I think it's 99,650.
Ooh,
I think
close.
it's 650. So this is close-ish.
Is it? For you?
No.
I mean, okay, so...
No, not really.
So Fellini-esque is the highest scoring show. That is what it has going for it, is that it is the highest scoring show.
Yes.
However, I would argue that the points seem inflated through my uneducated eyes, right? The judging panel is super educated and way infinitely more qualified than I will probably ever be, but there are some things that I disagree with, and Babylon has all of the things that I think Fellini-esque lacks. So this was not difficult for me at all.
Fellini-esque wins the captions. They were first in general effect, first in visual, first in guard, first in brass, second in percussion. Babylon was first in everything except guard when they were third.
Okay.
So captions go slight edge to the Blue Devils here. But I watch Fellini-esque and I am impressed with the quality of the performance.
Yes.
I just don't think it's an iconic show. There aren't iconic moments. I think it's iconic because it scored so high.
I would disagree. I would say that first couple minutes with the trumpet feature on the front of the field, that's pretty ridiculous stuff, and it's really cool and engaging, and then it loses me.
So the trumpet player likes the trumpet feature at the
They
beginning?
got 40 trumpets at the front of the field, and they are cooking. So, yeah.
Anyway, we are advancing Babylon to the semifinals
We
over Fellini-esque. Moving down, the 12 seed E equals MC squared against the number 4 Blue Devils 2023, the Cutouts.
Yep.
So a 12 against a 4, our other Blue Devils show in this bracket.
We've got a Cinderella story forming here.
Yeah, the 12 seed Cinderella story. What do you think about that?
I think that this one is not particularly close either. If I had to choose between this 1 and the 4 seed that are both Blue Devil shows, I would choose the 4. I like the Cutouts. I'm not a huge fan of a lot of Blue Devil shows. I liked this one. I liked the concept. I liked that they were cutting out chunks of some shows that they'd done previously and reusing them in this show as the artist that they were depicting does. But when you compare it to Accept My Love for You and an old story of love and the perfect brass score that is Carolina Crown 2013, this one is not particularly close either, and our 12 seed moves on.
People are going to call us BD haters, and that's okay. I'm not a BD hater.
No, I love Metamorph, but it just didn't score that well. So
I love Metamorph. I love Ink.
Ink is great.
I love a lot of older school, Big Bad and Blue from the 90s. I like a lot of older school.
All of those are pretty dirty for championships.
Blue Devils shows. Yeah, I mean, the Cutouts, again, there's not a lot there.
Ooh, the ballad's great.
The ballad is great, but I wouldn't call it iconic. I wouldn't call it an iconic ballad.
I don't know. That
It's
dude
not
is playing double C's.
It's not E equals MC squared. Also, again, when we compare the captions for Crown, first in general effect, second in visual, second in guard, first in brass, that was the perfect score you alluded to, sixth in drumline.
Yep.
They got a 98.3 despite a sixth place in drumline, whereas the Blue Devils, second in drums, second in brass, first in everything else with a 98.9. So they really only beat Crown by 0.6. So if you add a little something to the percussion score, let's say the percussion didn't suck that year, then probably it's the better scoring show anyway.
I would argue that a 6th place drum corps is not that bad. 6th out of
Six
the
is pretty
whole
bad.
world.
6 is pretty bad when you want to win.
True.
We are advancing E equals MC squared to the semifinals. That means the Blue Devils are out of the tournament. Gone.
Favorite for sure. The most championships in all of DCI.
Not today. Not for the CNC. They do not get the CNC ribbon. Moving down, Blue Coach changes everything against Cadets The Zone. Blowout, in my opinion.
I don't know. So I hadn't watched this Cadets show until this list. It's a little out of my brackets of like, this is the era of drum corps that I really like. This is a very creative show. It kind of feels like that vibe of like something the Bluecoats now would do, where there's just like a door in the middle of the field and random things come out of it, and it's just kind of fun and exciting.
Fun.
And they've got some Cadets moments in there that are very traditional, and this is the Cadets, but otherwise it's pretty progressive. It's pretty cool, but when you compare it to a mic'd flag feature and the Bluecoats wearing red and white and the giant red prop dissolving and the trombones through a synth and just the other million things that I forgot that are so awesome about Changes Everything, no, it's not particularly close.
Yeah, wow moments. Wow moments goes to the Bluecoats here. You know, the Cadets have the scat drum break is super cool. The prop is cool. There's some nice drill moments, some very good brass moments and drum moments besides.
Impersonating a DCI judge is cool. That's funny. That's always funny.
But the wow moments, yeah, changes everything. Blue moves on. 007 against Framework. We've got some Cavies versus Cavies. 07 or 04 Cavies versus 02 Cavies. Both champions. And this is pretty close because so close in era, so close in performance.
I just let you choose. I said these shows are like the same show to me. I mean, they look the same in terms of uniform because that era, the drill is both legendary, but it's Michael Gaines, so it looks like Michael Gaines drill. It's Michael Gaines drill in both.
I think when you watch a lot of Cavies like 2000 to 2007, if you turn the sound off, and you have to close your eyes like when they show the guard, because the guard kind of gives it away, but
yeah.
There is a lot of similarity in the drill,
yes.
And you can't always tell. You know, I think in my mind, oh, that the diamond cutter was in this show. No, it was in that show, or this was in this show, and nope, that was in that. There are some, like the 007 move is obviously in the 007 show. Yeah, you let me choose. I think ultimately, both of these shows are part of a great series in one of the greatest eras for any drum corps ever. You talk about like 5 championships in 7 years. You see this drill being mimicked all over the activity today. Mm-hmm. And 007 is the pop version of that, which is super cool, but Frameworks is epic in design, from the rifles to the fight club scene to the harmonic movement where they basically have space chords down a company front with a vision. I mean, there are just so many wow moments in this that were just off the charts, epically cool. So we're advancing Frameworks.
We are.
To the semifinals. Okay, back to the top of the bracket. Your favorite show of all time, Babylon.
Yes.
Versus maybe your second favorite show of all time, E = MC squared.
Man,
or certainly one of your...
It's definitely near the top 5 somewhere. I love both of these shows.
So let me give you some background here. This is point values. I went to the specific point values.
Okay.
So SCV beats Crown in GE, visual, music, and percussion if they performed in the same year and got the scores that they got. Crown, of course, wins brass. That's the perfect score.
Yes.
And 6th place in drums, of course. So they did not win percussion.
Womp womp.
So what are we doing there?
So before I say this, I just want to say that if you're like not a drum corps person or a band person listening to this and you haven't seen either of these shows, go watch both right now. There's super high quality videos on YouTube that are probably illegal, but it's fine. On YouTube right now that you can go watch of both of these shows, and they're both so unbelievably just peak design, peak performance, peak drum corps, and they're both legendary. But like you said, the captions the majority go to Babylon. The moments in Babylon are in about the same abundance as they are in E = MC squared, but the moments in Babylon just hit a little extra, I would say.
I think the moments in Babylon are way more obvious.
I would agree.
You know, like the Accept My Love for You is pretty obvious, but it's super cheesy.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't care.
and I think like the black hole trick at the end
Really cool.
is kind of not like you could miss that.
Yeah, so I didn't know that was a thing they were doing until someone told me.
And I didn't know it until you told me, and that was pretty recent. So you're not going to miss the horn snap at the end of the ballad. You're not going to miss the ballad. You're not going to miss the dubstep drum break. You're not going to miss the mellow sustain that's still ringing in Lucas Oil Stadium.
The dab during the dance break because it's 2018.
The dab. They're the iconic moment, the wow moment. By the way, these 4 finalists, give me any one of these at my funeral on loop, and I'm happy.
The ballad from SCB 2018 is the best ballad in all of drumcore history, and possibly one of the best moments in drumcore history. I haven't seen all the moments.
I also think when you watch some of the EM equals MC squared, there is some dirty drill in there. Now it's ridiculously hard drill while they are playing a ridiculously impossible brass book.
I would argue that drill is harder than Babylon's.
It is definitely harder than Babylon.
Much more traditional,
but it's also and there's not many props on the field. Babylon is hampered by the amount of props on the field.
But those props are genius.
They are cool. However, we are advancing.
Babylon
moves on to the finals. At the bottom of the bracket, Change is Everything from 2024 against 2002 Frameworks Cavaliers.
Yeah, and this is where
we started yelling at each other.
This is where
we're not going to yell. We're not going to yell now because we're going to cause all kinds of bad sound on the microphone. So maintain your energy here.
Yes.
Let me give you the background.
You do that.
Cavies, if they were to perform in the same year, same drum course, Cavies win GE, visual, guard, brass, and music, with the Bluecoats winning only percussion.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is going to be something that you bring up for a couple rounds. And I just want to say right now that it is really, really not fair to compare a judging panel from 2002 with a judging panel from 2024.
But we're doing that in the whole bracket.
Yeah, yes, but this one makes me angry.
Okay.
Because I disagree with you.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to do my soapbox now.
Fine.
The Bluecoats is my favorite drum corps.
It is.
One of my favorite shows from the Bluecoats ever is Changes Everything.
Mine too.
The iconicity of being named the Bluecoats, and for the last decade being hated because your uniforms are not traditional, and you go, you know what, screw it, we're going to wear red, white, and yellow the whole season, and name the show Changes Everything. There's not a single ounce of blue on the entire field, ever. There's like one blue silk that the guard uses during the ballad, and that's it. That's the only blue. And the idea of entropy, and the show is such a basic concept. It starts really solid and rigid and perfect, and it develops into this mess, this cacophony of sound, and then at the end, we find the beauty in the chaos and the order in the chaos. And I think that idea is legendary, even in its basicness. I think this show is great. I said you love Frameworks for its originality, for its captions, even though I think that's not necessarily a fair comparison to make. I agree that this is one of those shows that I sat in a middle school classroom bored and on my school Chromebook had the sound off just watching the drill in a high cam. Mm-hmm. This is one of those shows.
Yes.
So both of these shows are legendary. My argument for this was that Changes Everything has done more to progress the idea of what drum corps is, and your argument in return was that we don't know that because it's only been 2 seasons.
And that is true. It's only been 1 season.
We've had 1 season since then.
Yeah, and I had at OMEA, I had my RHS music booth back to back with the Bluecoats booth.
Yeah.
Just behind the curtain was their television, that they had a giant television running like highlights of Bluecoats from the last 10 years or whatever. And there were 2 Changes Everything clips.
Yeah.
And it was a 90-minute loop of videos. And so every 45 minutes, because they had the clips spaced out from the Changes Everything here, every 45 minutes I was hearing a clip all day for 3 straight days, the same clip over and over, same clips over and over. And I never got tired of them. This show is awesome. I love changes everything. I think it gets a downgrade because it's so recent and we don't know its long-term effects. You look at Downside Up,
Yeah.
major effects.
I mean,
it had
it changed
electronic effects.
everything.
It had uniform effects. I mean, people hated that show when they came out from behind those big pink props the first time wearing basically guard uniforms, sort of
costumes.
essentially, and no hats, no shakos. People were like, and I saw
Skin
it.
tight white with no hats.
And you were at church camp. Your mother and I went to the theater and saw it. And I've got the Facebook post to prove it. People were hating it. And I said that night, on the night of the premiere in Detroit, that is awesome. That is going to win.
Yeah.
I said it right then.
They turned DCI.
So I am
inside.
a major Bluecoats fan. However,
changes
Frameworks,
everything.
Fight Club, Michael Gaines Drill, Salcedo's music, Hall of Famers everywhere on that staff. Even against an amazing Bluecoats show, it's too new to tell. So we're advancing Frameworks to the finals.
We are.
It has to be we. Frameworks against Babylon.
Yep.
Frameworks
That
against
is-
Babylon
that is indeed
for
the
the
finals,
finals.
yes.
The captions go Cavies 4-2, winning GE Visual Guard and Music. Santa Clara gets brass and percussion. Iconic Moments to me is a tie. Iconic Moments, you've got the Cavies Drill, the Fight Club, etc. You've got the horn snap in SCV, the ballad, the mellow sustain, all of the great moments, the dubstep thing. Enjoyment, I would actually go Babylon. I like Babylon better.
I agree.
I know you agree. And if this was your bracket, you would say...
Babylon smokes this show. This is not even close. This is not even close. Babylon, what you just said, even just that statement you just made, we haven't even gotten to captions yet. We haven't even gotten really to the reason why you think Frameworks wins, and I already disagree with you. You just said that Babylon and Frameworks have the same abundance or amount or goodness of moments, and that is just blatantly not true. There is great drill moments throughout Frameworks that Babylon doesn't have. Babylon has like 2 cool drill moves in the entire show.
Both of which are found in Cavies Drill from the early 2000s.
It's the same drill writer.
Because it's Michael Gaines. How about props for Michael Gaines? He is both
All
of the
over
finals
this
drills.
list, yeah.
All over this list.
But
He needs props from us. He's already
all of the moments and then there's a couple cool musical moments. You mentioned the Space Chords thing. I like the Fight Club scene. That is more of a visual moment than a musical moment. The drumline thing is cool, but I would argue that the visual of it is the coolest part of it. But that's it. That's all I remember from Frameworks. I just rewatched it like a week ago. And I have not rewatched Babylon in the same amount of time, and I could name you at least one moment in every segment of the entire show from
You've
the
also
first
seen Babylon 75
0,
times.
0, 0. Before the show even starts, the salute is more legendary to me than anything that happens in Frameworks.
Oh. I think one of the things that is very epic and iconic to me about Frameworks is that the Frameworks is not just like picture frame, although they do use the visual imagery of picture frames a lot. The Frameworks is the frameworks of music.
Yes.
The first movement is melody, and so they present that melody at the very beginning, which is kind of a strange melody at the very beginning, and then they continue to just develop. They play statements of it up like 86 times in the opener. They play that melody over and over and over and over and over, and that's the idea, is melody, element of music. Then the second movement is harmony, and that's where they end up in the space chords, and it's all how the harmonies develop underneath. And then
That part's my favorite.
the third movement with the drum break and its rhythm, and they do the vocalizing, they do the counting with the brass members. As they get to the Fight Club scene, they do the dance, which again, you go from the dance move, direct correlation to the dubstep moment in Babylon. Very similar, obviously more modern, but like nobody had ever done that in drum corps before.
Yeah, there's
like,
a lot more electronic bass in
let's
2018.
put our instruments down and basically dance.
Yeah.
Like, what? And then the fourth movement is all of it all being added together. The melody plus the rhythm plus the harmonies. And they redo a little quick dubstep at the end. And then, just flying to the end.
Which is cool that it has multiple meanings, but the Babylon in Babylon also has multiple meanings.
It does.
It is sort of vaguely the story of like the biblical story of the Tower of Babel, where the tower gets destroyed right at the beginning. You hear the voices in the different languages. You hear the guy screaming. They split the props from the center and break everybody up, and then it's chaos, and then they come together at the end. But it's also about a little bit of, the mental thing that is the song My Body is a Cage, that is the ballad, and also in the opener it's a little bit kind of like changes everything of finding that order in the chaos, about how our relationships with each other, specifically in this case through music and drum corps, are more important than anything that separates us, and that we can come together through anything and escape our cages. And that is also has multiple meanings. So I would argue that both of these things have that, and I would argue that the Babylon one is cooler.
I'm gonna throw one more thing at you that I didn't already argue. I was saving this one.
Okay.
This is my surprise. Do you know how much time in the entire Babylon show the entire corps proper plays?
There's a lot of solos, so not that... Well, I mean, the solos in the ballad are like 2 minutes long.
It's like less than 6 minutes, like less than half of the... If you're a second trumpet player in that show, you spend more time pushing props than you spend playing your trumpet.
And how many of those minutes that they're playing trumpet are awesome?
They're good.
100%.
Look. Somebody has to win, and someone has to lose. And so you are picking Babylon.
Yes.
And I am picking Frameworks. And it says here, it's my podcast.
He hates his guests, everyone. You heard it here. He hates his guests. He despises them, all of them. Every guest that's listening right now, he hates you. He despises you. All of you. Don't ever come back.
So Frameworks
or come back and say that Babylon's better than Frameworks. That's okay too.
So Frameworks is our winner. You can, of course, text the show with the link in the comments or reach us on our social media accounts to tell us who you think the winner is and why you agree that it is Frameworks.
Right.
Harrison, thanks for being here. This was...
None of the listeners of this podcast were even born when Frameworks was getting performed, so...
That's completely untrue. Thanks. This was fun. It was fun to compare these together. It's fun to look at the captions. I've never quite done that before in quite as analytical of a manner. And it was just fun to compare old to new. And
we agreed on most of this, actually. Most of this was really easy.
Yeah, most of it was much easier than I kind of thought it would be. Yeah. And then it got tougher at the end. Frameworks and Babylon is tough. It's splitting hairs. They're both great. All four of the finalists are absolutely fantastic shows. I mean, Babylon, I said a minute ago, put these four shows on a loop at my funeral. And
I would say there's not even a bad show on this list anywhere. There's two that are a little weaker, and everything else is absolutely legendary.
Which are your two weak ones? From a New World?
No, I was going to say Stonehenge, and maybe From the New World. I could see that. I was going to say Fellini-esque. I think Fellini-esque is something that, if you're getting into drum corps, you have to watch Fellini-esque because of the status that it has as it's the highest scoring show ever, and it's not really that close. I think you have to go through lots of people love it.
If I had to list my top 10 Blue Devils shows, it wouldn't even be in my top 10 favorite.
I don't know if I can name you a top 10 Blue Devil shows. Maybe that's on the next episode.
By the way, a guest wrote in what was left off of the list.
Okay.
We had, when we set this up, we only allowed 2 shows per drum corps. Otherwise, it would be like mostly Blue Devils. And here's the proof of that. So the shows that were eliminated from the bracket because they were multiples of a drum corps. Does that make sense?
Yes.
The 5th seed would have been Blue Devils 2010 Through the Glass Darkly.
It's a pretty cool show.
I kind of like that one. That was kind of
very creative, especially for 2010.
It's another one, by the way, based on a Bible verse. The 6th seed would have been Blue Devils 19th. This is one of my tops. Blue Devils 1993, The Phenomenon of Cool.
That's a very cool show, yeah.
And that was a really advanced musical show for the time. It blended the Cool from West Side Story with a bunch of others. Started off with the drum solo, ended with the drum solo. Like, that was a really, really, really hip show. The 8th seed would have been Tempest Blue from 2022. The 10 seed would have been Cabaret Voltaire, Blue Devils 2012.
No, thank you.
I really don't like that show. And we would have bumped off of the list Boom, From the New World, Stonehenge, and E=MC Squared. Would not even been on the list. It made our final four.
Just because of that sixth place drumline.
Sixth place drumline. All the time. So, this was fun. Congratulations to Cavaliers 2002 Frameworks.
He hates all of the guests. Don't let him get away with this.
Harrison, don't let your body be a cage. Let it go.
Yeah.
That's it. No. Breathe. Find your happy place.
All right, we welcome back-to-back episodes our producer Cathy to the show. Cathy, we just spoke a week ago, but how was your week?
It's been good. Glad to be back.
Okay, well, we are here. We previewed the rant bracket last week. We're here to reveal the results today. You got your results handy?
I have them ready to go. Let's do this.
Let's get right into it. So we are going to start with the 1 versus 8 seed speed limits versus GIF or JIF. Give us your results.
We are going to have GIF or GIF arguments in this house for so long that this one had to win. Also, not to, belittle your speed limit rant, but I kind of disagree with your speed limit rant just a smidge, because you say that, people should go the speed limit, and I'm a mom of 2 young drivers, and well, they're not that young anymore, but who has taught 2 young drivers, and I want to believe that they are not always going maximum speed forever. So we shouldn't go too slow, but we shouldn't speed excessively either. So I'm giving GIF or GIF this one, just so that my husband will keep arguing that it's GIF, which is wrong. So
that is an 8-1 upset right off the bat. You were knocking out the 1 seed in the first round, in the first matchup. I'm shocked. I am shocked. Okay, but I don't make the decisions here. These are your decisions. The OG, the first rant, the grandfather of all rants. There may be a rant about that in itself. Let's go to the 2 seed. We got people who read PowerPoints against sand. I think I have a guess here. I think you're going to probably go with PowerPoints. What do you think?
this, I said it last week, is the closest matchup for me. Hard to pick. I feel strongly about PowerPoints. I feel strongly about sand. I agree with you on both points. I could have seen in a different bracket these two being in the final against each other, but that is not how the Symbols and Cynicism bracket works. And so for me, number 7, sand wins. It is Star Wars. It is you at peak anger. It is about your sacrifice for your love of your family. So for that reason, sand wins.
If you're playing along at home, the 1 seed and the 2 seed have been eliminated from our brackets. This is anything but chalk, ladies and gentlemen. We are crushing all of the top seeds. Let's see how it continues to play out. We're going on to the 3 seed, the 4-way stop rant versus the Star Wars Holiday Special. Is it another upset? Is it 6-3?
It is, Bob. It's the Star Wars Holiday Special. It is hot garbage. Of course you are going to rant about that. And of course it is terrible. And look, I agree with you about 4-way stops. I like to be courteous. I do not wave people through a 4-way intersection. The 4-way stop has rules. You should have learned them in driver's ed. Everyone should know the rules. I wish that did not even have to be a rant. This one would beat out most other rants by a mile, but the holiday special of Star Wars is terrible. And keeping in mind that I am not ranking the agreeability of each individual rant. I am agreeing your ranting style and, topic and capability. So this is about the rant itself. And the Star Wars Holiday Special earned 2 bleeps from our buddy Sid. And at the end, you didn't feel better. Our dreams were haunted. This was a beautiful rant and worthy of much ranting.
Wow. That is 3 in a row upsets. We've now got the 4-5 here. So we've got two sort of early rants for the podcast from 4th episode and 6th episode, mid-season 1. Garage sale traffic versus the airplane, people who stand up on an airplane when it stops at the gate before it opens. 4 against 5. I got a feeling you're going to go with the airplane and do 4 upsets. Am I right?
No, in this one you are wrong. Both of these are about being considerate, and both of these are truly infuriating. I agree with both. I've experienced both. I get intensely frustrated by airplane standers at the end of a flight. Both of these are relatable, but this bracket isn't about which thing is worse. It's about which rant is better. And the garage sale traffic rant is classic Bob, and I love it when you call people a menace. And so for that reason, number 4, garage sale traffic.
Let me ask you a follow-up question. The airplane rant, if you listen to the next episode, or maybe it's 2 episodes later, there was a fan that wrote in kind of explaining why they stand up. Do you remember that? Did that factor in, that there was some disagreement feedback on that, or that didn't factor in?
It does not factor in. They are wrong. There is no reason to stand up before anybody can move on the plane. That's dumb.
I have also been not accused, that's a little strong, but of having an inordinately large number of my rants be about some sort of moving vehicle issue. And I don't deny that. I just think if I rant here, I'm not ranting in traffic, road rage, right? I don't actually have road rage. That is my wife's category of our relationship. She is the road rager. So I usually do most of the driving when we are together. But I find it interesting that a lot of people say you do most of your rants are about, moving vehicle sorts of things, but only one made it through to the second round. So we have to start at the top of our semifinal matchup here. GIF versus GIF against garage sale. Who's the winner? Who moves on to the finals?
Number 4, garage sale traffic is the winner of this. The GIF-GIF debate, I think, has been done over and over. It's been covered by lots of people. And so for that reason, I don't think you're making any headway on convincing people. And I truly hope that the garage sale traffic rant, even though it's pretty specific to you, unless a person lives somewhere along 127 between Antarctica and Santa's Workshop. This is a classic Bob specific rant, and it deserves a spot.
All right. Fantastic. Let's go on. This is sort of Star Wars versus Star Wars here on their next matchup. Kind of. Sand versus the Star Wars Holiday Special. I got a feeling you're going to go with the Holiday Special.
I am so sorry. You are wrong. I
suck at this.
I do love that this is a Star Wars related matchup, and it's a very hard one. But Sand, although it is not an educational factor style rant, I cannot put that horrific holiday special into the finals because more people might watch it. So for that reason, Sand has to win this one.
So for the safety of our listening public, you are keeping the Star Wars Holiday Special out of the finals discussion.
Correct. I care about our listeners.
It should be said that I don't know what you're going to pick. These are all surprises to me. I got to admit, sitting here at this moment right now, knowing that whatever you pick, I have to redo the rant. I'm a little nervous right now about what you're going to pick. So what we have here is our number 4 seed from episode 4, Garage Sale Traffic, in the finals, matched up with the tremendous upset moving on from all the way in the 7th seed from episode 18, Sand. Matched up in the finals, Garage Sale versus Sand. Who's our winner? Who's our champion?
Well, garage sale traffic is a classic Bob rant from years and years ago. For as long as you have lived in towns on 127, I can appreciate that. And I would like to thank our parents for not really taking us to the beach and traumatizing us with excessive amounts of sand. We weren't a beach-going family. I am choosing number 7, Sand. Sand as a rant, honestly, is all of the best things about the Symbols and Cynicism podcast. It is all of the things you love in Star Wars, some of the things you hate because sand, and a little about this wacky adventure we call life, with balancing the two, your love for your family, sacrificing your sand. So, I think that this is the best representation of Symbols and Cynicism.
And to be quite honest, probably of the 8 things, the most surprising thing to rant about. Everybody rants about traffic. Everybody rants about, lots of these things. But sand? I don't know. People, maybe not. I don't know,
man.
Okay.
I don't take beach vacations, so, I hate sand.
Well, there you have it. Sand is our rant bracket winner. So stay tuned to the end of the podcast where I will redo the sand rant. Probably not word for word, but at least item for item. And I don't know, maybe it's been a while, so maybe I'll throw something else in. So if you chose sand as Cathy's winner, you are 1 anyway out of 4. There's only 8 rants in this bracket, but we've had 32 episodes, 33 sort of count the 30 something episodes. So of the ones we didn't put in the bracket, anything honorable mentions, you've got Falling in Love, you've got Winter, Fast Lane Etiquette, Die Hard is a Christmas movie. That's a pretty good one. What was missing that you would have liked to see in the bracket?
Well, you have had many good rants, and I have even suggested some of the rants on this podcast, but I gotta say that one of my favorites is the reply all mistake of emails.
Yeah.
I just that's horrific. So I wish
Yeah.
that one had made the cut, but I don't know if it would have beat out sand. So I think what's been done has been what's best for the podcast.
The other frequently asked question is, how many rants do you have, sort of like in the pipeline? Like, when will you run out of rants? And
A lot.
We've got at least another dozen here on the list. And by that point, when we get to those 12 or whatever, we'll have some added to the list beyond that. We're not done ranting just yet. So
there's a reason that the word cynicism is in the title of this podcast. I
There
think
is.
we have a lot of texts going back and forth that rant about a lot of things on our own. So I think we're set for the cynicism side of things for a while.
All right, sand is our winner. Thanks for playing along, and thanks for taking so much time to do this bracket with us. And we'll see you. We'll talk to you sometime in the future.
Thanks for having me.
Well, hey, Matt, happy birthday.
Hi.
Not only is it your birthday, this is the 16th episode of Something Neat with Matt. So our little bourbon thing can drive.
Yeah. Yes.
Or learn to
Yes.
drive anyway.
Well, I don't know that a bourbon segment should drive
Probably not.
at 16.
Probably not. I was going to say drive responsibly, but you shouldn't be drinking if you're 16 anyway, so drinking and driving really shouldn't be an issue,
No, but theoretically.
theoretically speaking. Better than birthday week. Better than Shark Week, even, is severe weather awareness. For an EMA director, severe weather awareness week must be like Easter Sunday for a pastor.
That's probably accurate.
Probably accurate.
Yes.
So
Yes.
this coming up, as we listen to this podcast, starts Severe Weather Awareness Week. This is national, right? So tell us a little bit about what's the purpose, what's going on here with Severe Weather Awareness Week.
Well, fortunately and unfortunately, Mother Nature also has a way of giving us several examples of severe weather awareness that we should be aware of, including tonight being Sunday night when we're recording this. But as far as the Severe Weather Awareness Week goes, the big key things that we try to do is help reduce storm anxiety, because there are a lot of people that comment on a lot of social media posts that they have really bad storm anxiety, and they want to know how to deal with that. I remember when I was young, I was scared to death of storms.
Yeah.
Until I learned how storms worked, and since then, now that I have a better understanding of them, it doesn't make them less violent. It just makes them more predictable.
Right.
And you're not sitting in your living room worried about what's coming next.
Right.
So as part of Severe Weather Awareness Week, Wednesday, there will be a statewide tornado drill that you can participate if you want. I know most counties are going to. Last week, Indiana had their statewide tornado drill on the day that there was supposed to be severe weather. There was a lot of contention on whether or not they should do that.
Yeah.
But severe weather wasn't supposed to move through the area until about midnight, and the statewide drill was at 9:50 in the morning. So there was plenty of time between those instances to, make it pretty clear cut. And I am of the impression that I would much rather test everything at 9:50 in the morning to make sure that it works. Because if you wait and don't use it because you want to use it at that time and then it doesn't work, it's a double-edged sword. So one of the things that we want to push this week is just being aware and taking everything seriously.
Sure.
There was an article that I read from the Union City tornado of a guy that was playing Candy Crush in his living room, and he got the tornado warning on his phone, and he said, I just swiped it clear and ignored the warning. And then he said about 12 minutes later, he was holding on to his door handle, trying not to get blown away.
Yeah.
So that can be frustrating for us when we're doing everything we can to get the messaging out, and it falls on deaf ears.
Well, I think a lot of that is because people on social media, there are reputable sources. National Weather Service is reputable. Mainstream TV media tends to be reputable as those meteorologists go. Obviously, local EMA, reputable. But there's also a lot of clickbait.
Yes.
That this happens a lot in snowstorms. Oh, there's going to be 24 inches this week or whatever, and they usually predict that way too far out. And they're looking for clickbait because it's advertisers giving them money, and so then two things happen. One is everybody panics way too much sometimes, or we become numb to that and start to say things like, "Well, they predicted 24 inches and we only got a dusting."
Yes.
When really the reputable people were probably saying 1 to 2 inches.
Yes.
And so then we become either jaded or numb or freak out too much. So one key here is to follow reputable sources. National Weather Service, EMA, local TV media would be reputable sources, right?
Yes. And we're going to get the messaging to you. Don't feel like you need to sit at home and worry about what's coming next. You're going to get an alert. When I'm at the office and we have severe weather coming through, I'm actually in direct contact with the National Weather Service discussing what's going on around here and if there needs to be a warning issued. So we're taking care of all of that. We just ask that when that messaging does come out, you take it seriously.
And I know there's text alerts. I get text alerts. Is that something I signed up for? Or is that automatic on my phone like Amber Alerts? How does that all work?
So you can both will happen on your phone.
Okay.
We at Van Wert EMA, we have a text message alert system that you can sign up through the Van Wert EMA website. And that's generated by us. I'll put out a message, I'll send, and then it sends it to, I think we have almost 13,000 on the list that goes out to. Your phone goes off as an Amber Alert. That is generated by the National Weather Service, and that's typically saved for tornado warnings. Severe thunderstorm warnings, maybe not so much, because we still want to be able to differentiate severity.
Right.
So with the tornado warning, your cell phone is going to go off no matter what.
Well, thunderstorms bad. Tornadoes deadly.
Yes.
Thunderstorm, you can obviously die in a thunderstorm.
Yes.
Not as typical as tornadoes are tearing towns apart.
Yes.
Thunderstorms are just bad.
Yes. Right? Yeah, severe thunderstorm warning criteria is lightning. Specifically, the biggest criteria is 58 mile an hour winds or greater. And then, heavy rain along with that. Whereas, tornadoes it is what it sounds like. It's a tornado, which is typically associated with a thunderstorm. Which is why sometimes you'll see in a severe thunderstorm warning, you may have a possible tornado tag in that warning. So when you get a warning, it's also pretty important that you read the text that follows along with it.
So watch, I get these confused all the time, versus warning. And I love the taco warning, taco watch. That really helps me. But can you explain real brief the difference between a weather watch and a weather warning?
A weather watch is going to be issued by the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma, nationally. They issue those in conjunction with our local weather service office, typically 2 to 3 hours in advance. And what they're doing is they're looking at the environment and whether or not it's conducive to severe weather development. They're looking at modeling data that checks to see if all of those conditions are coming together. And when they feel like the conditions are favorable for development, then that's when they're going to put out a severe thunderstorm watch or a tornado watch. Obviously, on the threat scale, a tornado watch is more elevated than a severe thunderstorm watch. Mm-hmm. When it comes to a warning, that means that it's happening. It is happening. We can prove it. Here it is. And that's they typically like to have that between 15 and 20 minutes before the incident happens. Sometimes even longer.
Sometimes not.
Sometimes not.
I mean, you can only do what you can do.
Yes. A couple weeks ago, there was a tornado in Edwardsburg that was warned after there was a fatality. Mm-hmm. Because the conditions at that specific time, they came together so quickly that, I don't want to say caught everybody off guard. It was not anticipated. And so when it happened very rapidly. But within 3 minutes of that storm's development, it was tornado warned. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, in that first 3 minutes, there was a fatality.
Yeah.
So we're all human, but there is somebody at the Weather Service that's constantly looking at a computer with a radar and checking to make sure that there's nothing.
Weather is unpredictable. I mean, there can never be 100%.
Yeah.
So the idea is to remember that watch means we have the ingredients for a taco. It's not a taco. Warning is I'm handing you a plate with a taco on it.
I'll also add in an advisory, mostly because we're under a wind advisory right now.
Right.
So what is an advisory? That would be like chips and guacamole. Like, you still have the ingredients of a taco.
Right.
And you're still consuming those ingredients of a taco, but it's not necessarily a taco. So it's kind of in between that, hey, we haven't met the criteria, but we're pretty darn close.
So you want to sign up, make sure you're signed up for your local EMA text alerts. Weather radio is also a good idea.
Yes, a NOAA weather radio is a very good idea. You can buy those from our EMA office. They're $31. And keep an eye on our Facebook page this week, because there may or may not be a giveaway opportunity to win a NOAA weather radio.
I know that also Wayne TV in our area, a lot of times in the summer, will be doing sales where we'll program them for you. And you guys will do that too, right? If we come out to the EMA office, purchase a radio, you guys will program it that way.
Yes.
We have the correct radar input coming into that radio. So, and what is the Facebook page?
Van Wert County Emergency Management.
Van Wert County Emergency Management. All right. Well, happy Severe Weather Awareness Week. Hopefully, we've already had some severe weather this weekend with high storms come through town, and no significant damage. A lot of poles and trees.
Yeah.
Anything else? It's no significant damage.
No significant damage.
Okay. Hey, let's talk about the whirlwind of Bourbon.
We have a bourbon advisory.
A bourbon advisory. I think it's a bourbon warning. There is bourbon here. We are drinking our 2 finalists right now to decide the winner, but we're not going to tell you who it is yet because we got to get there. This has been a great bracket. I've had a lot of great feedback on this bracket. It's been a lot of fun. I love that we've done the pairings along the way, so let's get into it. We started off with the first episode of this dealing with Buffalo Trace, our 1 seed, versus our 8 Wild Turkey 101. What came down to it here is availability of these 2 bourbons. They're very similar tastes, but Wild Turkey is more available. So we went with
Wild Turkey 101.
Wild Turkey 101 moves into the semifinals. Down to the bottom of the bracket, Knob Creek 9-year versus Evan Williams Single Barrel. Talk to us about that matchup.
The Knob Creek 9-year ultimately takes the victory. And I think they're both relatively equal in availability. Mm-hmm. But I think when it came to the flavor profile, the Knob Creek just had a little bit of an edge on the Evan Williams. And
it was slightest of margins. They're both very good.
Yeah, this one was close. This was tough.
Yep. Going up to the 3, this one shocked me, to be quite honest with you. 3 is Bullet Bourbon versus the 6 Four Roses small batch. One of my first loves was Four Roses. What got me into bourbon, that was one of the first ones I had back in the day, but I'd never had Bullet until this pairing, which we drank a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, Bullet, for me, because this is who I am as an individual, okay, in a lot of things in life. If there is something that is popular, I instantly hate it. I don't always go for it because I'm always trying to find that unique thing.
Right.
So when it comes to Bullet, like it's so widely available and everybody drinks it, everybody puts it in everything. I kind of just shy away from it. But then when we started drinking it and we did compare it to Four Roses. It definitely moves on.
Yeah, it definitely moves on. And price point there too.
Yes.
I mean, again, you go with the popularity and it's everywhere. It's also like $26.
Very affordable.
Which I tend to, not necessarily for popularity, and I'm not super high end, but I've always stuck to that $50 to $45 to $60 range, figuring it's good enough to not be, cheap. Yes. And also not, super expensive. And I'm shocked by this Bullet. It was almost hands down for me for Four Roses. Yeah. This is going to be one that's on my shelf pretty regularly, at least for a while. And our last quarterfinals, Maker's Mark versus Woodford. Blowout? Was it a blowout? It was a blowout.
Have we met?
Yeah, right. Woodford by 1,000.
Yes.
Yeah. Not even close. No. So moving on is the 8 seed. That was an upset. Woodford 5. That's a minor upset, 5/4. 3 was chalk moving over 6 and 2 over 7. So we have the semifinals matchups, Wild Turkey versus Woodford Reserve. And what are we doing there, Matthew, between Wild Turkey and Woodford, the W matchup?
This took some time to really go through. I had to remove my bias from the Woodford.
Yeah, it's hard.
And when I did that, it was so insanely close. I think for me, what it really comes down to is the aesthetic. I love, between the two bottles, the Wild Turkey 101 is that's a classic design.
It's a classic, but man, there's something about a Woodford bottle.
For me, it's the simplicity of, here's the bottle. The thing that we do really well is the bourbon. We don't really care about the packaging. Mm-hmm. Not that they don't care about the packaging, but it's like, here's a bottle with our letters on it. Drink it.
Well, and when you go to the distillery and you go into the shop where you could purchase it all, it's so impressive in its simplicity. It's just all lined up in rows. It's like an Excel spreadsheet. Columns and rows, and they all look the same. There are some variations between double oak and straight on the exact shape, proportions is the word I'm looking for of the bottle. But yeah, the aesthetic is just beautiful, just beautiful. So we are going Woodford over Wild Turkey, which is the OG. That's the first one we ever drank on this podcast, was Wild Turkey 101.
Yes.
And the reason was because it was affordable. It's a good bourbon. We like it. Nothing against all of these bourbons in the semifinals, especially. High quality bourbons. We move down to the bottom. Finding our other finalist here, Bullet against Knob Creek 9-year.
This one was pretty close as well. I feel like they've all been really close, but that's okay. I would say they've been close. I will blame it on our somewhat inexperience. Like I think to a professional taster, a master distiller, there would be some obvious differences.
Yeah, we're just dudes.
Bullet takes the cake on this one.
Yep.
I think ultimately it came down to the flavor profile, and really, the Knob Creek 9 years good.
Yeah.
But I think the smoothness of the Bullet.
That's so smooth, and I like the industrial bottle. It almost seems aesthetically the opposite of Woodford. Woodford is country club, clean, classic. Bullet is industrial, steampunk.
Yes.
Maybe not steampunk, but factory.
Yes.
Hand hammered bottle of Bullet. All right, so and that's what we're drinking today. We've had our Woodford here. We've got our Bullet here because we wanted to authentically put these two. But it's been a long time since we did the Woodford pairing. Not probably since we've had Woodford, but in that pairing. So we wanted to make sure we put the two side by side as we're drinking. And before we get the results, what are some things you're noticing about the two bourbons? I think to my nose, the Woodford is more present on the nose.
Yes. Yeah, and I think between that and the Bullet, maybe it's because I've just had so much of the Woodford that it's almost like it's home.
Yeah, it's an
you
old
know
friend.
when you walk into your own house.
Yep.
And you really never know when your house smells bad. It's sort of like this. It's a comfortable smell to me.
And taste-wise, boy, these are kind of similar.
They are
Ish.
really similar.
What are we doing here, Matthew? Bourbon is like the new for us. It's kind of the newcomer, right? The new kid on the block, making its way to the finals from the 3 seed. Woodford is our down home, tried and true. We've been Woodford fans for a very long time. Anybody who listens to the podcast knows, probably predicted that Woodford was going to be in the finals. Who's our champion?
We're going to have to go with Woodford because I don't want to have to face the guilt anytime I drink Woodford from now on that I didn't make it the champion. It's the winner in my heart. It's like neglecting your own child.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't neglect your own child.
Can't do it.
Although, as a newer father versus an old father here, I'll tell you, there will come a day when your child sort of neglects you and just goes to the basement, plays video games, and doesn't even know you're in the house anymore. Till you say, "Hey, you want to record a podcast?" Then he yells at you because you picked the wrong drum corps. And maybe this is getting a little too specific and personal.
Maybe, perchance.
All right, Woodford Reserve, the 2026 Bourbon Playoff Bracket champion.
Congratulations.
I'm not really surprised. Are you surprised by that?
No, I'm not surprised at all.
I'm surprised by some of our other results. Bullet, definitely. I never thought that was going to be in the finals. That was a complete shock to me. I'm actually kind of surprised by Buffalo Trace Wild Turkey. That was a little bit of a surprise. But availability, but I didn't know that was a problem before we did that. And every one of 7 of these 8 bourbons, if you offered me, I would absolutely take it. The 8th one, I would take it, but I'd make sure you didn't have anything else on the shelf that you were willing to offer me.
Yes, that's right.
Read on that. As always, drink responsibly. If you're under 21, don't drink at all. And of course, designated drivers save lives. So if you're out and trying these bourbons, get home safe. Designated driver, have somebody else drive. Uber, Lyft, give me a call. I'll drive you home. Small radius to that to that offer. Yeah. Hey, happy weather awareness, severe happy taco week.
It's a good thing you're not being the one putting out statements.
This is why I'm not the one putting out statements. I'm just going to sit. No, I'm the guy. This is bad. You can yell at me. I'm the guy who gets the tornado warning and goes out on his porch and sees if I can see it.
Yeah, or you get the text and then you text me and say, "Hey, is this real?"
Is this real?
No, I'm just sitting in the office. Figured I'd text 13,000 of my closest friends.
Yeah. Well, don't have any other friends.
That's true.
So, all right, get to work. Keep it safe.
I will do my best.
We appreciate it.
Thanks.
That's it. No. Breathe. Find your happy place.
Sand. Sand sucks. Anakin was right about one thing. He was wrong about a lot of things, but he was right about one thing, and that is sand sucks. It does. It gets everywhere, and it does irritate your skin, and it is coarse, and you can't get rid of it. He doesn't even mention that in the movie. You can't get rid of it. It gets everywhere. It gets in your hair and you can't get rid of it. It gets under your fingernails and you can't get rid of it. It's in your pockets of your swimsuit. It's on your feet. You go to the beach and you can't get clean before you leave. Sure, you can wash off in the beach, and then what? With your wet feet, walk across the sand. Sure, you can go to the shower and wash it off, but you can't get it fully off because those showers aren't the greatest. And then it's on that little walkway on the way to walk back to your condo or to the car. Then you get it in the car and maybe it's a rental, but maybe it's not. And you come back home and it's still in the crevices of every nook and cranny. How does sand get places where you didn't even go with the sand? I think it multiplies. It sucks. I hate it. I hate the beach and I hate the sand. I don't like having my shirt off. I don't like having my shoes off in public. I don't like anything about the beach or sand or any of it except that my wife and son love it. So we go. We go to the beach, and I sit and read under an umbrella, trying to get as little sand near me as possible. And of course, it still gets near me. And of course, I fail. Why? Because it's everywhere, and because it's sand, and because it sucks. Anakin was right. On the topic of sand, consider me Team Anakin. Do I feel better? I feel a little bit better. Maybe 2 rants is what does the trick. Star Wars. You finally get to go back and watch some Star Wars because this week, after 4 weeks away, we finally are back to watching Clone Wars. We'll be doing season 2, episodes 12, 13, and 14. So you're going to want to watch those episodes. That's the Mandalore arc. And if you're thinking Mandalorian, isn't that the hang on, because we've got a lot to talk about next week. We meet Satine. We encounter the Dark Saber. We have to discuss who the Mandalorians are. Plus, there's some espionage and some backstabbing and some political infighting. And look out, is Obi-Wan in love? This starts one of my favorite continuing storylines with continuing reoccurring characters. So check out season 2, episodes 12, 13, and 14, and we'll catch up with you next week for the Mandalore arc from Clone Wars. Okay, that's the show. Make sure you leave a rating, drop a comment, or send a message on the app of your choice. You can text the show with a link at the bottom of the description. You can check out our merch store at themarchingarts.com/RHS. And you can like and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Robert H. Sloan RHS Music. We hope you'll join us next week for Clone Wars The Mandalore arc and that stupid McDonald's kiosk. Thanks for joining me today. The theme music is Superfly, written by me, copyright RHS Music. The show logo was designed by John Suh. The show is produced by my sister, Cathy. I hope you'll join us next time for more reflections and rantings on symbols and cynicism.